Are we ready?
Yeah.
Then let's begin.
I am Catherine.
And I'm Bruce.
And this is our new podcast.
Questioning the chaos.
You fucked that up already.
What?
Yeah.
I did?
I was supposed to say the title.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then you say the title.
Questioning the chaos.
Mine was more dramatic. A KyteKut conversation.
Man, you got to see both of them. Yeah, so this is our brand new podcast. Oh yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Eve. Basically, we have our channel, KyteKut Creations.
Mm-hmm.
We do singing, dancing videos on there, and that's a lot of fun. But it takes a lot of work and production to do that and keep up with that consistently, especially with the level that we have added to it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So our ideas are getting bigger and bigger.
So basically, we'd come up with an effect shot idea for about 2/3 of the way through the song, and then we would build the entire thing off of that, and our effect shots kept getting more and more complicated as we went along.
Yeah, so we're still working on those. That's still part of KyteKut Creations. It's just now we also have KyteKut Conversations as well. So
Yeah.
kind of fill in the gaps in between, and then we get to have some quality time together.
Mm-hmm.
So it works out twofold.
And we got a couple people who are wanting us to help with projects. We have not forgotten about you.
No, we are
getting there.
definitely open to still helping all of our people with their projects.
You know who you are.
Yes, we do know who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have our visual form of our podcast that will continue to be on our KyteKut Creations channel. And then this will also just be on listening podcast form as well. So
Yeah, I know far less about that, so this is going to be interesting.
but we're pre-recording right now, so we can figure out those technicalities. But on to the actual topic at hand.
Okay.
Okay.
The actual topic at hand is something that Catherine is going to introduce right now.
Bruce did all the technical stuff, but I am the creative side of things. I come up with the wild ideas. He makes them happen. So our topic today is how we met.
Our topic today is us.
It's us. It is us. It is the start of our relationship.
Yeah.
So yesterday I wrote a whole timeline of our first year together.
It's over there.
There may be a cheat sheet for Bruce.
Maybe.
I'm interested to see what he remembers, because I wrote down some details of some things that have stuck out in my brain in our relationship.
Because if you know me, you know that I am good at remembering things like code or, technical things, except for, when the microphone recording program is looping and we have to stop in the middle and go back and do some stuff, which we may or may not have had to do. Let's see if you notice where that happened.
We did not do that.
No.
Not at all. Anyway.
But I'm not so great at remembering, events and people's names and when stuff happens.
Yeah, and we've definitely got the logical side over there and the more emotional side here. But, we're both working on
I
that.
have emotions too.
So, how we met.
Yes.
I realized the other day that we have known each other from when the very first official time we met for 14 years now. Because at the time of recording this, it's beginning of November, but we met in the middle of October in 2008.
2008.
I had to look at the year because I have too many details I remember, and so, yeah, it was Sound of Music auditions.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, leading up to that moment, I just graduated high school, June 2008, and
I did not. I was homeschooled and got a GED.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about 2008, not, you're 4 years older than me. But I'd been going through an emotionally rough time. Senior year was rough. And my mom was like, get in a show. You need to perform. So go audition for Sound of Music at Clark College. Just go do something. So I'm like, okay. So I went to auditions. I didn't realize you could sign up for individual auditions. I thought it was just catcall. So that was my first mistake in getting any sort of, having a chance at getting a lead role. But
Did I? I didn't sign up for an individual time, did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did.
Well, you would have known about it because April.
Yeah,
She-
maybe.
Well, she definitely would have told you about individuals. But he was already going to Clark, so...
Yeah, I was taking voice lessons from the music director. I did have the benefit of walking into the audition and just being like, oh, hi, April.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone involved. I know all of
Basically.
you.
Yeah. And see, I knew I was in trouble whenever they were asking for, who else is reading for the part of Liesel? Or who hasn't read yet? And I'm just like, I haven't read yet. Raising my hand. And I'm like, well, damn it. I'm definitely not going to be Liesel at this point. Guess what? I was correct. But yeah, so going back to that, went to auditions. I knew at that point if I was going to get in it, I needed to nail the dancing. I nailed it too well. I didn't even get to be a nun in that show. I was literally just in the ballroom sing at the end of Act 1. And I curtsied in the end of Act 2. I was just a glorified costume changer for the Von Trapp kids.
There was me and another guy who were trying out for the captain and like, well, we could also, sing for Rolf, right? Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
So we went in and did that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, and so then we were all out in the hall, like all the people auditioning for Liesel, all reading with all the guys auditioning for Rolf, and just, all of the, well, it's now the Beacock Music Hall, but,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, in honor of Mr. Beacock.
Ah.
But we were all just in the hall, just frantically reading with everybody before it was time to read in front of, director and stuff, and, I remember reading with several of the guys and going, none of these are right. None of these guys are right. None of them are Rolf. And there's this really tall guy with like this, curly, like, it was basically an afro.
I had very big hair.
He had big, big hair. Like, it was like ringlets. I mean.
My hair has gotten a lot better.
Let's see here. You were 22? Yeah, you're 22.
22, yeah.
Yeah,
I
going on
turned
23.
23
Yeah,
the
because I was
next
18.
February, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So yeah, college boy. He looked like your typical nerdy college boy living with roommates situation. Yeah. No,
100%.
100%. We'll have to find some photos if we can. If we can. If we don't, then it's fine. But he's still
Maybe.
nerdy.
Future me? Photos? No?
No? Maybe?
Yes?
Who knows?
Here they
Anyway.
are. Cool.
But yeah, so just mop of hair, like, all over. And then, but I saw his eyes. They were really nice looking. And he was the cutest one there. So, but so I was reading with him, and I was like, yeah, this is the guy. I want to read with this guy in front of the director. So
And
we
you
get
did.
in front of the director. And everybody's getting called to read. And, of course, there aren't as many guys audition as there are girls. So all the guys got to audition multiple times. And then the girls got to audition one time.
Welcome to How the Theater Works.
This is how the theater works.
That's a different episode. Again, we've got some plans.
We got plans, yes. So
you got up to read
I got up to read
with me.
with Bruce.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And
didn't know his name yet.
I had read with 4 or 5 other girls at that point. But with you, for some reason, I felt the need to reach out and touch your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Just in one of the emotional bits.
Yeah.
I was just like trying to connect with you as Liesel, and it was just like hand on shoulder, which I hadn't done with anyone else.
Yeah, it's just like right here. And
It
I
just seemed like the thing to try.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, he touched me. No, I wasn't really like that.
It was in the scene.
But yeah, it was fun.
That's how that works.
Yeah, and it felt comfortable. It did feel weird or creepy,
No.
you know? Like, I've been touched by guys, like, on the shoulder or the lower back, and it's like, that's, like, weird or creepy. But, I mean, I have no boundaries when it comes to, like, theater stuff. I'm just, like...
I was in Tinderella. There's no boundaries for theater.
That's another podcast for another day, too.
Hi, Bonnie.
I, too, have had some thresholds. Thank you, Life and Arts Productions, and that mystery cast reading.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that one was fun.
We have some stories. Anyway,
Yes.
at that point, we went back into the music room. And then that's when the Rolfs were all... The Rolfs who hadn't sung yet got to sing.
Oh,
So,
okay, yeah. It happened the opposite
yeah.
order
So,
that it is in my brain, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
But yes, because we had read at that point. And then we did. Then it was like the leftover Rolfs.
The Rolfs who were like, hey, can I sing for Rolf too?
So there's like two more guys, Bruce and this other guy, who was far too old to be Rolf, but you know.
So was I.
But he was far
Then again,
too
it was a
old to be
college
Rolf.
production, so
Yes.
they were going to be college-age people singing I Am 17, going on 18.
So he started singing 17 going on 18 in the wrong key.
I did. April started playing it, and I'm like, I am... No, that's not right.
Yeah.
And so she plays my notes like, boop, doop, doop. I'm like, oh, thanks.
And as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, well, he knows her, so obviously he's going to get the part, you know. So I was just like, no one else got that. I didn't get that as Liesel singing. So I fell in love with the singing voice. I mean, once he was in the right key, I mean, even in the wrong key, he still sounded fabulous. So I was just like, he was still hitting the notes. He was just somehow in the wrong.
We don't need keys where we're going.
Yes, this is how our conversations go.
Mostly references, yes.
Yeah, mostly for Bruce. Everything's a reference for him. So then after that was dance auditions, which I totally nailed. I went all the way up to the front, and I was just like...
I don't remember if I had to dance.
You danced, but you were like way at the back.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Yeah, every time.
I don't dance.
So auditions were done, and I went up to Bruce, and I was like, hi, I'm Catherine Larson. You have a beautiful singing voice. And I stuck up my hand.
And I shook it, and I said, I'm Bruce Kyte. And something else, I'm sure.
Like, thank you.
Thank you,
probably.
something, yeah.
So it was polite, you know. It was definitely like I was in networking mode, you know, at that point, you know. So I was like, well, I hope you get into the show. And, you know, Bruce probably said the same thing to me because, you know, audition
And we both
talk.
did.
Yeah. But yeah, we both got into the show. And then I remember looking at cast list, and I was like, oh... Bruce did get into the show. He was cast as Rolf, and Mom was like, who's Bruce? I'm like, oh, just, you know, cute guy auditions, you know. But yeah, I was cast in Ballroom Ensemble and was not a nun. So I was, like, basically not in the show. All for, you know. I had one line, 4 words. Frau Schrader's charming Georg.
It's an important line.
Very important line.
Because Frau Schrader is an important character.
She is an important character.
And her character mentioned Frau Schrader's character in her one line, which makes her, by extension, an important character.
You know what's funny? I don't know if I talked to Frau Schrader on stage at all.
I don't think I did either.
So I don't know why my character Baroness Upperfeld came to that conclusion without actually interacting with her. Like, I think I talked with other people and not her.
Frau Schrader's charming, Georg, or so I hear from other people who've actually talked to her.
Anyway.
So, are you going to tell them about the first picture that you showed your mother of me?
Oh, that first picture. Yes, okay. Let's see, when did that happen? When did we become Myspace friends? MySpace.
It was either after the auditions or after...
I think it was after, like,
out.
our first, like, reading together, something. Like, there's, like, the full cast reading. It was after Halloween at that point. So we're in, like, November at this point. And that's important because at auditions, Bruce had talked to me. We had talked a little bit about auditions where he had been doing a show for his lessons and things like that.
That was...
Villain, Lover, Saint.
Yeah, baritone as Villain, Lover, Saint. Not the best title.
And he was telling me about it while we were waiting to read it for the directors. And yeah, I know, I was already having conversation with him. Ooh. And he told me about it, but he didn't tell me where or when it would be, which is horrible advertisement.
Oh, it was awful.
People to come
Almost
to your show.
nobody showed up.
Yeah. So I'm just like, after the fact, I was like, dang it. I didn't find out where or when this was happening. So I think it might have been after that. I don't know when exactly in time. It's not important.
No.
But we became MySpace friends. If you know, you know.
MySpace.
It was the primo social media site.
Okay, so quick aside. I saw a thing that apparently Facebook is adding, like, a song to
Yeah.
your profile. You can put your favorite song so it plays when someone visits your
It's
profile.
just MySpace.
It's just MySpace again.
I know. Soon we'll start learning more coding.
It's just HTML code to add into your MySpace profile.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your Facebook profile.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, your Meta profile.
I don't know. His Facebook.
I don't.
He obviously had his Halloween photo up as his profile picture on MySpace. Who didn't? His hair was all straightened. Remember, his hair was long. Like, it was like... Anyway. So it was straightened and all, like, shag emo style because his roommate had straightened his hair out for him. He had nail polish, so he was doing, like, rock on. He had, like, a punk shirt on and a belt. So he was just, like, this emo punk rocker guy. I mean, he looks hot in it, but you know. But I pulled up MySpace to show Mom, and she went, "Oh!" I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, that's his Halloween costume."
So this is the first picture that my mother-in-law ever saw of me. In my hand. Right there. Okay, I'm going to put it there later. Cool.
Yeah, so rehearsal started, and we had, like, the initial read-through. That's when I found out I was then finally Baroness Elberfeld, because apparently someone had dropped out. So they were like, "Baroness Elberfeld, Catherine." I'm like, "Oh, when did that happen?" Okay. Read my line. Yay. We had our separate rehearsal shifts. I was in dance rehearsals, and he was doing a bunch more rehearsals, and we didn't see each other again until, like, January. So that's when we started having full runs, act runs, and scene runs and things like that. And I started watching how he interacted with other women, you know, and things like that.
I had some friends in the show.
Yeah, he had some choir friends, and, you know, so he would...
Hi, Sydney.
he would, like, open doors, but not in, like... It was like, if they happened to be there at the same time, you know, he would open doors. Or, you know, if there was not enough seats, he would let other people sit down first, you know. I don't know, I just got good vibes, so... I was like, oh, right, he is cute. And his hair was cut at this point because he needed to have more of that, you know, 1930s.
Went for a very short haircut, which made me look even younger.
Yeah.
And I was 22 at the time.
Yeah, so he really did look like he was about 17, 18 at that point, you know, especially clean shaven, and then, yeah, no makeup, like, he looked young.
Didn't have all of this going on.
But then he would be watching my dance rehearsals.
Yeah, that was fun. She'd get up there on the stage.
Admire my assets, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving her assets everywhere. It was nice. It's
Yeah.
actually one of the first things one of my friends mentioned. Just like, oh, isn't she cute?
Yeah.
And I was just like...
Was it like, I think that was Diana, because she was in the ballroom scene.
Might have been Diana, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, okay.
Yeah.
You caught my attention here.
Yeah. He also thought my lisp was cute, too.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah. But yeah, so January, it was really cold. It was sleeting on one of these rehearsals. And Bruce didn't have a car.
No.
I did. So he rode the bus everywhere. And it was really starting to come down. And
Go public transit.
yeah. So Bruce had to walk from Clark over to where Fort Vancouver Library used to be.
Right, it moved.
Yeah. And that's a fair distance to walk to catch the right bus.
In the sleet.
In sleeting weather. So he kind of called out, "Hey, anyone going by the library at all? Heading that direction?" And I was like, "I am!" Even if I still had to like turn around to get onto the freeway at that point, but it wasn't like completely out of the way for me. But even if it had been completely out of the way, like...
Anyone driving to Kansas who could take me? Me!
So I don't think I came off as eager as I felt inside, but even if I did not care. Like,
It did happen quickly.
It did happen quickly. I don't think it was eager, but it was more of like, oh, I can take you.
There wasn't any time for someone else to step in to do that.
No, it was me going. At that point, I was listening to like all the musicals I had on my iPod, like in alphabetical order. And so I don't even remember what musical it was. It's one that
It was a weird one.
I did not care about. There was a weird song playing, and I plugged it in to, the player, and it was a weird song. And I remember you were like, I don't know what you said, but
Neither do I.
but it was kind of like, what the heck is this? So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just listening to musicals I have on my iPod, you know, because shared libraries with other friends and things like that. Drove him over to the library, and we were discussing musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else we talked about. It was a short drive, but
Yeah, it wasn't very long at all.
yeah. And so then dropped him off. You got out of the car,
Mm-hmm.
and you were standing there. Do you remember what you said?
What part was this one where I forgot your name?
Uh-huh.
That's it.
You...
See, I remember this happening in the parking lot before we got into the car.
No.
Hmm.
This was when we were in the parking lot of the library when you were getting out of the car. You didn't want to have the whole car ride of me knowing you had forgotten your name, probably. That's my philosophy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was that smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. You never avoid, you know, letting people know you've forgotten their names ever.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. So this is probably how it actually
All
happened.
right, insert the meme here of the name going in one ear through the paper grinder.
Why are you
and
trying
out
to
the
make
other
more
one.
work for yourself? We just talked about trying to make this... No memes.
Memes.
No. We're not doing more editing. This
We're
is
doing
simple.
memes.
Anyway, so he was like, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name. And I'm just like, that's okay, I'm Catherine, or you can call me Kat.
Got
I
it.
don't suppose you remember my name. I'm like, yeah, you're Bruce Kite.
Damn it. First and last. Dang it.
Uh-huh. I'm like, oh, I know, I'm just lowly ensemble, I mean. And you're one of the leads, so. But yeah, he thanked me for the ride.
Yeah.
And then went home. And then fast forward let's see, we went to Decker Theater for a little while for rehearsals.
So I was standing outside Decker Theater, and Catherine was a little touch late for rehearsal,
Well, I was right on time for
Right on
rehearsal,
time.
actually.
but just like right on time.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and she rushes by to get into the auditorium. I'm like, hi, Kat.
Hi, Bruce.
Half a millisecond later, she came back out because she'd been told she had to go somewhere else. She came back out and back past me. I'm like, hi, Kat.
I like swooped around into the costume room. I had to go for fittings
Yeah.
at that point. They're like, oh, we're doing fittings. I'm like, oh, okay.
It was the perfect sitcom moment right
Yeah,
there.
no, like,
And I got to prove that I remembered her name.
yes. Yeah, no, it was perfect. So it was after I told him my name. So I think it was like the following weekend of
Yeah.
rehearsals, probably. Fast forward then to Sitzprobe, I would say.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So
Sitzprobe.
Sitzprobe, if you don't know, is... Bruce, take it away.
Sitzprobe means sit and sing, probably in German.
We will fact check this.
So we were at Sitzprobe, which is the sit and sing, where the entire cast sits with the orchestra or band or whatever instruments they're going to have, and they sing through the entire show. Sans blocking, usually sans most of the lines, unless the lines are incorporated into the song, in which case they will read through the lines for timing.
Yeah, so because I knew Sitzprobe was usually you don't do your blocking or choreography, I put on jeans, I put on this really cute red plaid jacket. I took the time to curl my hair.
She curled it.
Like with a curling iron, not just my hot rollers. So I had like really tight, like greenlit hair. It was really, really cute.
It was
like,
wonderful.
It was really good. And I wore like these awesome teal pumps. Pointy-toed pumps were in at that point, okay? But they were awesome. Dang, I looked really cute that
Oh,
day.
yeah. And I noticed.
He did. But I got all dressed up. I put on makeup because I wasn't wearing a bunch of makeup to all the rehearsals and things like that. And we were at Beacock Music. All of a sudden, they were like, oh, yeah, we'll run through the dances. Because, remember, I only got to sing goodbye at one point after the So Long Farewell. Mm-hmm. And then I got to sing a refrain of Climb Every Mountain at the end, but off stage. Okay, so that's the amount of singing I did in this show. Then they were like, oh, well, let's practice the dances with the orchestra. And there's not a lot of room to move in here. But it was fine. It all worked out. In one of the breaks, I was sitting next to Sierra. And she was like, oh, do you have a crush on anybody? You know, because she was like, what, 15 whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was in high school. And, so having crushes on people was like
That was the big thing.
It was a big thing. And I was like, well, there's someone who I think is kind of cute. I had my notebook up, because I was, theater, taking notes, and things like that.
Just to put things in context here, at this point I had noticed her, we'd been talking, commented on her hair when we walked in.
Yes, he complimented my hair. Because
So
he had held open the door to the Peacock Music. We arrived at like the same time, and there was like a crowd of people. So it wasn't like just holding it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like he happened to be at the door, and he held it open for like an influx of people walking in. And he complimented my hair.
Yes, I did. So at this point, I'm paying attention.
Yes, he is noticing. I've been laying out breadcrumbs, but he's finally, been picking them up. And finally. I noticed you since auditions. You finally learned my name when I drove you to the bus stop.
I angrily drink my coffee at you.
So I was like holding up like my notebook like this, and we're sitting here, and Bruce is like sitting over here, off to my right. I looked over to my right, and, I kind of like pointed behind my notebook towards Bruce because he was the only one sitting over there. She was like, oh, and Bruce looked over and
I caught them.
He caught it. I mean, I was being obvious. I was not trying to be like, subtle. I mean, I was being coy, but I wasn't being subtle. He was like, are you talking about me? But you need to actually say it in your voice because it was like the smiling.
Are you talking about me?
I was like, why would I be talking about you?
I don't know.
That was it. That was the extent.
The whole thing.
That was all that happened. It was perfect flirting. Oh my goodness.
Sitzprobe's done.
Yes. We're walking out.
Walking out the door, and keep in mind it was a couple of days before Valentine's Day.
This was like the 12th or something.
Yeah. So we're walking out. Gonna say goodbye, but it's like we're connecting here, but it's not.
Yeah.
We haven't made anything happen or anything, and so it's like little step we could take.
You were like, oh, so I guess having our full day rehearsal on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, I'll see you on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, basically. And then I was like, or Singles Awareness Day.
Go singles.
And I was like, yes, okay.
We're both single. Yes.
Because at that point, I needed to make sure he really was single.
And we both just checked to make sure we're both single. Yes.
Yeah, basically, we were both on the same mindset. You and that.
Wavelength.
Yeah.
GIF.
We have a favorite GIF that we use for that. Stop adding more work for yourself. This is all work you have to do.
I know.
So what'd you do that night?
I went back home to my roommates. I mentioned to Aaron that there was this girl that I liked that I wanted to ask out on Valentine's Day. And I was like, I have to figure out how to ask her out. I don't know how to do this. How do I do it? He didn't have an answer per se, but we chatted about it, and I figured out what I wanted to do.
Backstory. Myspace friends.
Yeah.
People always filled out like surveys. You probably see them on Facebook too, where there's just a list of questions and you.
I mean, Facebook is stealing everything else from MySpace, so why not?
Why not do this too? I love doing those a lot. I don't know why.
Just a whole bunch of questions about what do you like? What is a thing that you like? When's the last time you did this?
Yeah.
So
Foods,
many things.
Colors, all those, get to know you sort of things. And one of them was, when was the last time you'd been kissed? And mine was like, oh, it was at this such and such a time, but it wasn't really that good.
And she had shared that with me.
Well, yeah,
or
it was
you
just a
posted
public.
it and I'd read it.
Yeah, public. Anybody could read it. So it wasn't like anyone had to go digging for it. You were a friend of mine. You could read it. If you're still friends with me on MySpace and you still have your MySpace account and know how to get into it, you could probably still find it somewhere, even though it's really messed up and confusing. And
Does it still exist?
It does still exist. You hacked into it to find
that's
some of
right,
the
to find
pictures.
photos.
So that's the backstory.
I had read that, and I came up with the idea, ooh, okay, a kiss. But not that kind of kiss. A Hershey's kiss.
Yeah.
I could give her a Hershey's kiss with a note on it. Could reference the MySpace post that she made.
Yeah.
With this Hershey's kiss. So I put something together. And I brought a bunch of Hershey's Kisses in case I had to give out some Hershey's Kisses to other people to make it a little less obvious.
Yeah.
That didn't work. But
we'll get to that.
I went through it anyway. So we got there. I had my Hershey's Kisses, including the one with the note attached to it.
Yeah. And so our rehearsal, this is like next week was opening weekend. So this was our all-day rehearsal. They'd already done like a cue to cue with lights and, sound cues and things like that. So this was finally adding us in with costumes.
Yeah, so we were doing the entire show with pretty much everything.
Yeah, it was still going to take a lot of time. We were still figuring out lighting and blocking, but a little less than it would have been if the whole cast had been there for cue to cue.
So we had a lunch.
And it was a potluck lunch. We hadn't even made it to the end of Act 1 yet, so I'd been in my ballroom dress like the whole day, and then I had to take it off for eating because
Picture.
we're going to find all these pictures.
We know where they are, more or less.
So everyone was dishing up, and Bruce was already sitting at a table by himself at this point, okay? And so I went over, I was like, is anyone sitting here?
No. Welcome. Whatever.
No, you just said no.
No.
You were like, no? I'm like, okay, good. And I set my plate down. And I said, I'll be back. I need to go get something to drink. By the time I get back to the table was filled with, like, guys. All guys. I was the only girl at the table.
Which is weird, because I don't know any guys.
Yeah. And
I know a couple.
for some reason, like, the tables had really split up into, like, male and female. But that's because I wanted to sit next to Bruce. Comes around to dating. The topic of conversation.
Yep.
And for some reason, all the guys were listening to me talk about dating. And let me put it this way. I hadn't dated a lot. Okay? I had one boyfriend in high school. Tried dating a little bit after high school. And kind of in between like any teenager. Like, everybody was hanging on to my word. And so then Bruce was like, well, in honor of Valentine's Day.
And I pulled out the Hershey's Kisses, started passing them out to all the guys at the table. First, because dramatics, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I handed her the one that very clearly had a note on it because I was very subtle.
Yeah. So subtle. Actually, you were a little subtle. You didn't dangle it and like drop it down or anything. It was more of like
I don't know if the other guys at the table were like, why are you giving me a Hershey's Kiss? Or if they figured it out.
Who knows? I mean, we were kind of caught up in our own little moment there
I
at
don't
that
care.
point. So
What do you guys care if what I care? I don't care.
But I unrolled the note, and it said, hope this kiss is a good one. Yeah. And
Heard you haven't been kissed in a while.
oh yes.
Hope this kiss is a good one.
There we go. That's what he remembers that.
Aha.
I was like, this kiss is perfect. After lunch was done, we technically had co-ed dressing rooms, but what kind of happened was most of the time the guys stayed in the main dressing room portion and the females were in the more of the makeup room sort of area. And all of a sudden, the dressing room was empty except for the two of us. That never happens. Okay? Ever.
Just two of us.
And all of a sudden I was like,
Oh no.
not oh no,
No.
but oh no!
Oh no.
Stop it! I kind of stopped and I looked around, and Bruce kind of stopped and looked around,
There was no one there.
and there's no one there.
And we're like, oh, this would be a good time to talk about something, such as asking her out on a date.
Yeah.
And so I started to do that.
So he comes over.
So Catherine
Yeah.
was wondering,
And then,
enter Sydney.
our dear friend Sydney.
Hi, Sydney.
We love you. She comes in. She hadn't changed yet. So she comes in. She's like, oh, do you mind if I change? And we're like, no.
Well, whatever.
It's the changing room. So
What this room's for.
obviously. But she saw us standing there. And she knew I liked Bruce. And she also knew Bruce had a crush on me.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden she starts changing like lightning speed,
She realized the situation she had just walked into.
basically. But Bruce had stopped talking. I was like, I want him to keep talking. I want him to lose whatever nerve what was he going to do? He's wondering something. What? I had long ballroom gloves I had to wear, but they had like seed pearl buttons near the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not do them. Once I put them on, I could not. My finger gloves, okay? And I couldn't just have them pre-buttoned and slide them on because then they wouldn't fit over my, forearm. I was like, can you help me button my gloves?
All right.
And so one, it got us close.
Mm-hmm.
And two, kept us interacting at that point. And so he was trying to button my gloves and we were laughing about how difficult it was to do and stuff like that, Sydney finally left. My gloves were buttoned. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. So then Bruce picked up where he left off.
So, I was wondering if you are doing anything later.
And I was just like, well, I'm supposed to have a girls' night with my mom and sister and my brother's current girlfriend at the time. I said, but I could probably, skip out on that and,
Would they be really upset by that?
I'm like,
By you skipping?
probably not, I said, it'll probably be fine,
Cool.
So then I called, and so Bruce was like, oh, let's go see a movie at the $3
Go see a
theater.
movie, yeah.
There's a couple showing,
It was either Marley and Me or
Yes, ma'am.
Yes Man with Jim Carrey.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, I read Marley and Me, so I want to see that, in theaters. So I was like, let's do Marley and Me. I picked the dog movie.
And if you know dog movies, you know that
You know what
with
happens.
almost no exceptions.
Yeah.
There's one way those things end.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen. But I'd read the book. I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, I'll be prepared for this. So called my mom and go, hey, remember Bruce? So he asked me out to go out tonight. Is that okay if I skip out on girls' night? I don't know. I might never be able to forgive you. Joking mom, of course, No, she obviously gave her blessing. She knew I had a crush on him. So who was she to stand in the way of,
No.
potential true love?
Potential.
Potential. I mean, we know it.
Potential that has been realized.
Yes, but, at the time. Then I was telling all the girls, like, I'm going on a date with Bruce tonight. And they're like, wait, you had a crush on Bruce? Because I kept it very on the DL with only, like, a couple of people knowing that I had a crush on him. Because I did not want there to be a lot of, like, behind-the-scenes, like, stuff being, gossiped about. So, like...
Keep the drama on the stage.
Exactly. On the stage, not behind the scenes. Finally did ballroom scene and all that stuff. And then we'd gotten changed for the wedding sequence. And we had a big break for a while. And so we were sitting and talking. It was like our pre-date conversation for a while that we were sitting and talking in like the upper hall area.
Yeah.
We were sitting in those chairs and just getting to know each other at that point. Because like we knew of each other and we knew general personality, but we were kind of talking about our families at that point and siblings and just your quick, here are these things, to get to know one another.
General rundown of who you are as a person.
Yeah. After rehearsal was finally done, it was like 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
So we were going to a late showing.
Yeah. So we had to go home, take showers, take off our stage makeup, get dressed. I put on a really cute outfit that Bruce never got to see because it was February, so it was cold.
You never took off that damn coat.
I took it off in the movie theater, but then
But it
we
was
were in the
dark.
dark. But I wore really cute jeans, really cute purple pumps.
I had to call her and say, hey, can you come pick me up? Because I realized I don't have a car. Which
Yeah.
for some reason I had forgotten to think about.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have a way to get there. Can you pick me up?
And he was so apologetic. I'm just like, no, that's totally fine. I don't mind picking you up. Like, so
Expectations of toxic masculinity. That's another episode we're talking about.
I was fine. I didn't care. I knew he didn't have a car. I didn't mind picking him up. So, but yeah, pink shirt. Had like vests were really in. Picked him up. We drove to the movie theater. Bruce paid for tickets. I paid for popcorn and drink.
So one of us paid more than the other.
3 guesses as to who that was.
Popcorn. So expensive.
Because there was Valentine's Day, there's like no seating left in the theater, but that was such a late show. So we're like in like the front, like right of the movie theater.
Which is the opposite of where you want to be most of the time.
I remember we were both very careful about our hands going into the popcorn. Like we didn't want any accidental like hand grabbing, so they wouldn't seem forward. And what's so funny is like I knew that's what we were doing, that we were both being super cautious about reaching into the popcorn, and like we were sharing a drink, but we didn't have 2 straws, so it was interesting.
Yeah.
So very interesting to like think about. But yeah, we saw Marley and Me. Spoiler alert, I won't say what it is, but if it's a dog movie, you know how it happens. So of course I'm crying, at the end of the movie. But all of my tears are just coming out of my left eye, which is the side closest to Bruce. Not one tear came out of my right eye. Like, I still remember that so vividly.
I didn't cry at movies at that time in my life.
No, but
I do now.
he kind of reached over and he kind of like patted my hand. It was so
it's
sweet,
okay.
like it was adorable. It wasn't condescending. It was just, that sweet,
The dog is acting.
the dog is acting. Movie was done. Put on my coat. We get in front of the house that he was sharing with his roommates, Jen, Aaron, and Trish. And we're sitting in my car in front of his house.
Yep.
Just talking. Talked for like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept my seatbelt on, okay? Like, he had taken his off because he was going to get out of the car.
And then we just sat there
Yeah.
for like 2 hours. After being at rehearsal for like 10 hours, going and seeing a movie for 2 more hours, we had already been in some form of together for an entire day of time.
Right.
And we're like, nope, some more, please.
And so we talked about a bunch of stuff, mostly theater and performing and stuff like that. At some point, we got to stage kissing because he had a stage kiss with Liesl, obviously. So.
And then I said the smoothest line ever.
I'm so bummed because the thing with lines are incredibly cheesy unless you're totally into the person.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like, don't just do a line on someone, unless you've already established that there is a mutual attraction, right? Like.
But what I said was just the cleverest, best, smoothest line you could ever possibly say in that moment.
It was transitioning from stage kissing to actual kissing, right?
And we can't for the life of us remember what I said.
Except that it was like the perfect line.
I said the perfect thing, whatever that was.
And so no one will ever know how perfect it was. But we remember how perfect it was.
Yes.
And so I giggled because...
Because it was a joke, too.
It was a joke. I remember it, but also I giggled because I was nervous.
It was a joke. It was serious. It was sweet. It was clever.
It was
all the things.
Yeah.
All the things.
I giggled. And Bruce kind of had, about that smile that he had on. You changed it. There we go. There it is. If you're watching, you get to see it. And
if you're listening, you don't get to.
It was just he has a cute little smile. I love you.
I love you.
I leaned over. Remember, I'm still buckled in, okay? I'd been planning to drop him off and leave.
2 hours previously.
2 hours previously.
She's wearing her coat. She's
safety
buckled
first,
in.
y'all. If your car has the key in the ignition, you should have your seatbelt on, okay? So I was being a very safe driver.
If your passenger is currently kissing you.
Especially then. You don't want to accidentally hit a brake or something. Leaned over, and we made lip contact.
That is the weirdest way to describe a kiss I have ever heard.
It's lips making contact with more lips.
Okay. We contacted our lips together.
Our lips contacted.
Yes, they did.
Physically.
Yes.
We have now described a kiss.
It was much better than that.
It was. No, it was like kind of amazing how it just kind of molded perfectly together. I went to open my mouth to breathe.
You don't get to do that while you're kissing.
No. Let's just say I'd never made out with anybody before, okay? So I kind of pulled away just tiniest bit and opened my mouth. But Bruce!
Hey, that was an open invitation.
Open invitation, he says. Let's just say things steamed up a little bit, kissing-wise at that point. And what was going to be a really cute, sweet, first date, goodnight kiss turned into a 20-minute makeup session.
Just in the car.
In the car.
Buckled in.
Well, I'm buckled in.
With your coat.
With my coat still on. But my coat had kind of like pulled up a little bit on my left side at that point because I was, leaning over, and his hand was kind of on my hip.
May or may not have found a sensitive spot round about there.
Like twitching. It was great. But yeah, no, it was really good.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah. And so we stopped kissing after like 20 minutes.
I was like, so what now?
I was like, well, I think now I need to go home because it is like 2 a.m.
Okay.
And we had
one day off.
Yeah, we got 1 day off.
And then it was Tech Week, which is always, we'll have a whole theater thing for anyone who might be listening who doesn't know how theater works.
Yeah.
Why you're listening to this, I don't know, but welcome.
Yes. Everyone's welcome here. Theater, non-theater.
You might not like it here, but you're welcome.
If you have a sordid interest in other people's lives and affairs and opinions, then you're in the right place. We're pretty open books, so.
And if you don't, leave.
Yeah, so the next day on Sunday, saw the movie with, it was the girls, because my brother and dad were at Park City, Utah. That's it. They were skiing for the weekend, which is why we're going to have the girls' night. Let's just say I did have to wear a scarf the next day on my neck.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it was pretty cleared away by the time Tech Week rehearsal started.
We were more careful after that.
But yeah, so rings. I wore like a spinny ring on my thumb. I had an Irish claddagh that I wore on my pinky. And I had it turned the way saying that I was single. And I remember that week during Tech Week, Bruce asked me about my Irish claddagh because he was looking at all the rings on my fingers. He asked about it. I said, oh, it's Irish claddagh. If you have it this way, it means you're single. Turn it this way, it means you're spoken for. And if you switch it over on your other hand, then that means you are married or, whatever. And so he was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. Bruce's birthday, we had opening weekend and everything. And of course, we were being coupley and cute and everything. So 14th, we opened, and then Bruce asked me to come over one of the nights that opening weekend because it was his birthday.
So it would have been the 19th.
Yeah, so that was the 19th. So 5 days later,
Yeah.
went over to his place after dress rehearsal. And I remember that day, I had gone birthday shopping for him. I knew he liked movies. I knew he specifically liked the white chocolate macadamia nut cookies from Subway.
Oh, yeah. Still love those.
They're still his favorite, but I didn't have time to go to Subway. I only had time to go to one place. So I went and got popcorn and white chocolate macadamia nut cookies from Safeway. And then I had
Not the same thing.
I know it's not the same thing.
They were still very good.
And I had like a little popcorn bucket that said, popcorn inside red and white stripes. And I put the cookies and the popcorn in there. And then I got it.
All very appropriate for our level of relationship at the time.
Yeah. And I was like, well, crap. I got a birthday card for him, but I didn't know how to sign it. Because I'm like, we've gone on a date. We're not official. I can't put your friend or sincerely or love.
Best regards.
Yeah, everything was either too formal or too serious. And so I was asking the girls how I should sign this card. And they were like, XOXO. I'm like, perfect. We have kissed and we have hugged. Those are things we have done.
Yes!
Okay. Because we're in that awkward 5 days after our first date and hanging out in rehearsals. So, where were we at that point? So I signed to XOXO Catherine. So after rehearsal, went to his place.
All right, so I have to preface this.
Yes.
And I did on the night.
Yes, this is how we prefaced it.
This is how I prefaced it. So I was living with roommates. I had a small room, a bedroom. That was all I had. It was just a bedroom in this house. I had a king-size bed that I had gotten from my cousins for free because they were replacing theirs. Now, king-size bed in a room tiny bit bigger than this office. And so I preface this by saying, my room is a bed. But you need to know that my bedroom, my room, is a bed.
I was like, okay.
That's what it is.
I'm like, okay, yeah.
So, okay, hang out in my room, but my room is a bed.
I'm like, that's fine. I hang out on my friends' beds all the time.
Okay, cool. It is literally just bed, walkway, TV unit,
Right in front of the closet.
shelf,
Yeah.
and that's it. There's
Yeah.
no other space in the entire room.
You can step in once, and then the bed is right in front of you.
It's like
But I made sure to compliment his curtains and his bedspread because Sierra and Sydney had mentioned to me that he had been talking about that.
I was a very single guy,
And so
and
he was-
getting curtains and a nice bedspread was to impress girls.
Well, I made sure to compliment that because he was very proud of them. And he wasn't and he was saying it to girls that he wasn't interested in dating.
Right.
He was just making conversation. And then they were like, hey, he's really proud of these things. So
Simpler time.
hey, I still get excited about bedspreads and curtains.
You know you're an adult when.
So I made sure to compliment his bedspread and his curtains. He had dark blue curtains.
And a red
And a
bedspread.
red bedspread with kind of green and gold striping on it. Not quite plaid or stripes, but
I would hate it now.
yeah.
It's totally not any of my aesthetic. I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't even know what your aesthetic is, but
Neither do I, but it's not that.
his aesthetic is what I choose. But I make sure to choose things that fit both of us, I think.
Yeah. So we were hanging out
So we were
on my
hanging
bed
out. He got out his baby wipes so that we could take off our stage makeup.
together.
Together. So this is the first time seeing me completely makeupless. Like, I hadn't worn a lot of makeup for the dance rehearsals, but I had been wearing some makeup, you know. But this was like heavy stage makeup, so he saw me completely barefaced, like I am right now. And so we're just sitting there taking off our makeup together.
It was no big deal because theater.
Yeah. Gosh, I think I gave you your birthday gift at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were very gracious about it, even though I did get the right white chocolate macadamia nut cookies.
The thought was very much appreciated.
Yeah. But I knew how much he loved movies because he'd already talked to me about his movie collection that he had, and he's still very proud of his movie collection. And then I think we were just kind of laying on the bed chatting at that point.
So she'd had the ring, and at some point she'd explained to me what the ring meant.
Yeah, in rehearsals earlier that week.
And so I said something to the effect, again, the smoothest thing ever.
Right.
But something to the effect of, was wondering if you would like to turn that ring around.
And I don't remember what I said, but apparently my answer was kind of confusing at first because I think Bruce thought I was turning him down. He was like, "What?" I'm like, no, I do want to turn it around. And so, did you take it off or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and turn it around or something like that. So that was really sweet, you know. Yeah, it was really, really cute. That's how he asked me to be his girlfriend on his birthday 5 days later. And that would have been a horrible 23rd birthday if I'd said no, which apparently he thought at first I was saying no.
So it's my birthday. I would like a girlfriend, please.
So basically,
I didn't
have to get him a gift. I was the gift.
You were my gift.
I am the gift.
Aye.
Our first year together is pretty full of stuff. Like, there was a lot that we did in our first year together. So
We're still not halfway down the first page.
we made it to the end of February.
Yeah. And we met, well, October, but then January.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to the bit where we actually met before that.
Yeah, I know. And that's in a couple of months.
We'll get to that.
In our timeline. So we'll probably actually be recording the next part.
Just right now.
But
you won't get it now.
No, you'll be getting it.
You will have to wait.
You'll be getting it next episode.
Ooh. Next episode on Questioning the Chaos.
Questioning the Chaos. So, yeah, if you want to join our Patreon, we are on Patreon, KyteKut Creations.
Yep.
That is KyteKut, one word, space Creations, Creations.
I think they know how to spell creations.
Yes, but I want to make sure that they know how to spell it. But anyway, we'll continue on with us because we figure if you're going to be listening to a podcast about us, you need to know about us. And, well, we might as well start with the us part of the story, which is when we started dating. So.
Plus, any of the people who will probably maybe be listening to this, or at least parts of it, are probably in it. So.
Yeah. So a lot of important people in that first year. We do also have a Facebook page. We don't currently have an Instagram, but
I'm probably going to take my Instagram and just make it that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really use it for the thing I was going to use it for, but I could use it for this.
So we can just rebrand it.
I've got, time lapses on there already of me building this office.
Yeah. So
those are fun.
Those are our socials. We do have an email, KyteKutRecords@gmail.com. So you can email us with any ideas of topics that you want to hear us discuss our opinions about. What chaos we can question. So we're always looking for ideas and suggestions. Got a lot of really good ones from our friends and family already that we have on our list to contemplate. So
comment, subscribe, like,
rate,
whatever.
All the things.
All the things.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to me, Catherine, and
me, Bruce,
and our KyteKut conversation, where we are questioning
the chaos. Love you.
I love you too.
Obviously, I meant Catherine.
I mean, we love
you guys are
too.
fine too.
Anyway, all right. Let's end our first podcast.
All right.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
There we go. And
Boom,
spacebar.
boom. Good. And spacebar.